give them that. It's way better to use Roundup for the value, but for the health of the community and all of that, it may not be. So last but not least, for the HOA board to restrict or ban the use of Roundup containing glyphosate in their community, they typically need to follow some steps like review governing documents, research and education, community discussion, notice requirements, vote, amend rules, communication, implementation, monitoring, and enforcement. And the last two things that I found out, Bayer Aspirin, which owns Monsanto and the glyphosate, now have $16 billion set aside for over 100,000 cases related to Roundup, which is acquired by the Monsanto deal. And of course I told Tim this one calculation. This guy out, this groundskeeper out in California was awarded $230 million due to his sickness. So that's what I found out about Roundup. What's that?
It's still under appeal.
But Suzanne
He didn't get a dime of it yet.
Suzanne and Bill, I think it was somebody in their family was a groundskeeper, and he actually did win the award, and it was like
$16 billion is a lot of money to have in a bank to cover 100,000 cases related to Roundup. It's a lot of money to have in a bank, but they have the money; they can do it.
So number one, he used the product,
What's
and
that?
he sprayed. Number one, he used the product and sprayed it a lot closer to it and a lot more of it than what we landscape down here with. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, you read who could use it and who couldn't. It's not banned in Sarasota, and the biggest part of Florida it's not banned. So you're saying our government's letting us use stuff that we're not supposed to? That's what I got your verbiage out of.
No, I don't know what they're doing in Sarasota.
No, I mean, no, what you just said. I thought you said
no, certain
we shouldn't be
communities.
using it because it's illegal.
No, I'm just saying certain communities are not using it. That's all I said. Just certain communities, like over in Palmer Ranch, are not using it. That's all that I said.
So what have you found that's going to work better?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I'm just trying to research
Well, I
that.
tell you what, you do some research and get with us, see if you can come in with the monies that we have appropriated to it.
I know.
If you can, I'm not just willing to try anything.
I know.
But you know, and you know, only other alternative is we're going to have to increase that dollar amount, which we can assess people, or we can increase the HOA fees. So
What about eliminating the guy who actually sprays the Roundup $2,000? What about eliminating him right off of the bat?
Is that the pond guy?
the pond guy.
The
Yeah, I
pond
don't
guy.
understand why
he
we're
does
paying.
he does more than just he adds chemicals to the pond too, or to the waterways too. That's just not what he's doing there. To eliminate, you want me to eliminate? You want him to eliminate using it around your house?
I think this is actually a really valuable conversation. The chemicals, right, are problematic to the extent that there are equally effective or nearly equally effective means of achieving the same outcome. It's worthy of conversation.
Not saying it isn't, but I like I say,
Yeah, but
find
we have to
something
come up
that's
with the
going to work.
facts. No, absolutely. But I think understanding what it is we do, and part of the landscape concept, right, if we're thinking about these things, if we can approach our landscaping in a more holistic way, use plants and materials that discourage weed growth, then we need less weed killer.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
if
I
we
don't
can do this
disagree with you,
more
but
thoughtfully.
We need somebody that wants to take that on.
Oh, no,
to find
absolutely.
it. I don't
Yeah.
have the time.
Yeah, I know.
So if you
I'm
want to
wondering
take it
what
on-
if property values do increase because of
I don't think property
Yeah,
values.
that's probably not
Did
the
you
right
look
reason to
into
do
it
it.
to see if
Something
we?
just-
Did you look when you bought your place? Did you look and see what chemicals should be used?
I don't think it was anywhere written in there.
Well, it isn't. But I said,
And
And there's a
look
reason for
into
that,
it.
right?
There's no realtor, no.
And I do, yeah, I do
No.
real estate. I've never had anybody ask me
But I'm
that,
saying
or
to that it
Well,
isn't. But
it doesn't have to be answered in a title question or
and
anything.
again,
like that.
we're not opposed to it.
No,
I say go out and find us something. Now,
I will tell you that if you talk to the people that actually spray the stuff at the lawn companies and stuff like that, what they're going to tell you is the alternatives do not work nearly as good as the herbicides do. So the treatment has to be performed many more times per year, and then your costs go up because of that, and it still doesn't really address the problem, So
Well,
Do you know,
and these are guys that, I mean, there are people that are allergic to this kind of stuff. And they can't even have it on their property, and you know, like Tom Mulnex, the guy that actually handles our account for FLC, he is certified by the state because he owned his own business for 14 years before going to work for FLC. And he's certified by the state. FLC is constantly inspected on how they perform their dilution stuff. They even do field checkups on them to make sure that the stuff in their tanks is the right dilution.
I emailed out the 3 communities, Bomber Ranch, the 3 other golf course communities, and I asked them if they could ask their groundskeepers what they use. So I'm waiting back a reply on that. For Jerry, I'll get you that information.
Well, like I said, I'm glad to get it, and I'm looking at it, but I would think it'd be great if you would go out and research what they could use and what it would cost us to use it.
Right, so I would say
that's what I'm trying
the
to find out.
best thing to do is find out who they use as their
That's right.
landscaping
That's what I'm
company.
trying to find.
And ask them to come over and give you a bid of what it would be.
And I'd be glad for you to accept that responsibility,
you know.
since you're the one mostly concerned about
Well,
it.
not just me. I'm not the one
Well, I
mostly
don't know.
concerned.
You're the
I'm
only
just
one I've heard it from.
I'm
You
one.
and Suzanne.
No, there's
But,
more people in here than me. The people that walk their dogs, for instance, are concerned that their dogs are getting it on their paws, and they're licking their paws and stuff like that. Just little things like that.
But
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I
not
can
the
tell
only
you
one
we
in
never
here.
used any of the chemicals in our home in Connecticut because we didn't want the dog walking in it. I mean, it's an issue. I mean,
I
it's a
had a
proper,
dog and-
realistic issue.
When they spray the line, it's noted that people see the flag, don't put them in the grass till the next day,
Yeah.
and it's off. But I don't know. And again, and that's great. I'm glad you want to take the initiative and do it, and I'll just put it in your lap
I'm
and be
just not
glad
the
to
only
have
one
it
in the
done.
country thinking about this either,
Well,
Jerry. You
and
know,
you're
I'm just
not.
not the only
You're not.
one. I'm not.
But I'm like I said, we need somebody if you want, to take it up by its bootstrings
Yeah.
and get her done.
Yeah,
well,
regardless of the number of people in the community that are interested, if we can come up with
Sure.
a viable alternative,
Right.
then
At
we
a,
ought to
at a
think about
cost
it.
that's
Yeah.
not going.
Right,
Well,
and
liability,
I
yeah.
think that's the thing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing
Yeah.
is, I think everybody would be open to it if the costs fit into what the budget,
Sure.
reflects, or take into consideration of what the difference is going to be.
Okay.
So, when it comes to anything, numbers talk, so
Right.
that's the big thing.
I get a
We're
lot more
aware of
complaints
that.
about
Right.
our
Just that-
HOA dues and
But
requests
without
than I
having
do
that
any of
type
the
of
other sides.
knowledge, like
Trust me.
that type of information,
Right.
that's what the board needs.
Do you think maybe if a letter, this is just a wild thought, if a letter was sent out eventually someday that said, look, your HOA fees are going to go up $25, $30 extra a
Well, no,
month.
but first we gotta find out what it's gonna be.
Right,
So
just pick a number, just for the
Yeah,
heck of it. And they
okay.
said yes, all of them said yes, we were okay with paying that. Would that be sort of
That's-
an
that
answer
would
to
be
the-
something with the board. So the
Okay,
board
got
would
it.
the board actually has the right to make that
I
decision.
see, okay.
Now, if it's something that is gonna be way more, and
Right.
the board can vote to put it to a vote of the unit owners, which I kind of feel like this
We've
might
done
be
that
the
in
way
the past.
it's gonna be
Sure.
going.
Okay.
So it would be a vote of the membership of whether they wanted to do something like that, and then you have to get a certain percent to vote yes.
I'll see what I can
the
find out
importance,
for you.
though,
I'd
is
say,
the
yeah.
cost benefit, right? I mean, we have,
Yeah.
regardless of what direction it goes, you have to establish, what you get for the increased cost, right?
Sure.
Factually based,
But that would,
why would we pay more, right? What are we getting out of it?
Okay.
yeah.
And without that, I don't think we're going to get a lot of support.
You're exactly right.
So-
The dollar,
Yeah.
it's not as bad now as when it was back a ways. That's just like, the HOA, we weren't even, what do you want to call it?
Solvent.
The fees, we have a reserve. They didn't-
There was no reserve.
There was no
prior
reserve.
to
And
2000.
people that bought in here said, well, we don't need them. I'm gonna be dead before we replace the roofs. Well, they were wrong. And so everybody was assessed quite a few $1,000s a piece. So those people in here didn't want to spend a nickel on anything. Now, it's a little bit better, but, like I said, we need a good dollar figure to go by. And we're not opposed to doing anything
Is
that's
this
gonna
something
improve
that I
the
can
place.
do on my own, like to create a flyer, for instance? And on that flyer,
Just
say
get it
something like,
approved.
this is what we're thinking about here in this community, and trying.
Yeah, but you're the
No,
cart before the
you're
horse
putting the
here.
cart before the horse. You
Right,
need
we
to
need
get
all
the
the data
quote. You need
first.
the
Okay.
data first,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
You
yet,
need to call a
could lead you in a
landscaping
completely
company.
different direction.
Okay.
Correct. You
If
need-
we can get all the facts and figures, right, this is why, this is what, and then you can decide what you're gonna tell the community, right?
Like if we can get the information from the other communities, like the Palmer
No,
Ranch
you
communities
need
or
to get the
village, the information from their landscapers.
From their landscaper.
What the
Got
bid would be
Okay,
in
no
here.
problem. I'll
to
see
do
what I
it
can do.
chemical
You have the
free.
Give it a
landscaper
shot.
come, you have the landscaper do
Let
a
him
walk
give you
around.
quotes.
Sure.
Let
Right.
him give you
Sure,
quotes of what
okay.
it's gonna be.
Find
All
out
right.
what
And you
he
get
uses.
actual factual stuff
Right.
that can be presented to the board.
Got it.
That facts are what, hearsay is nothing,
You
what
get
the
the quotes
township
and that,
is,
we'll
or-
get it at the board, and then you can make out a letter and present it to
Right.
people. Would be great.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys about that before I do anything. I'll come
Yeah.
back to you.
Yeah,
I'll
that's,
talk
we
to
need
these
to do that,
landscapers.
because,
I'll go out and talk to them.
Yeah.
you gotta give them something to go on.
Got it?
We had an organic tree farm in Pennsylvania years and years ago. I worked for a guy who was a Cornell professor who was Mr. Chemicals, and when we moved back home, he had switched all over to organic. We were shocked. But, so it's not something that's, like, people aren't going in that direction, and
Right.
especially people, younger, thinking more about it. And I understand that there's a lot of people in here that don't want to see a fee go up $1.
Right.
I hear that. Like, you talk to somebody at the mailbox and they say, oh, the fees are going up, going up, going up. It's like, I don't think they're bad. But, I mean,
We
you
also-
look at other communities,
Well,
I think we're
everybody
doing
in
everything
here
really well.
don't have the income that some other people
Sure,
do too.
sure.
Right.
Some people are living on a lot less dollars. That's
Yeah.
why we try to respect that
Right.
part of the owners too.
And I
So
understand
not just
that.
people
Got
that
it.
have a few bucks.
Immediately hung with the Rodale Institute. They're huge. Manhattan, 500 employees. They just sold their business to Martha Stewart not long ago. They were the biggest organics in the whole country, 100-year-old business. And they would have never went for anything like this. And they have alternatives to lots of things. In fact, we can directly email
Yeah, I
Maria
can call
Rodale.
Maria.
She's tight with her. And say, what would you recommend for our community? So we'll get some information there as well.
Yeah, and like I said, the biggest thing is to
Okay.
actually talk to a landscaper.
Sure,
that
got it.
could-
Locally.
Right, that
Okie
could
dokie.
treat the community and what he's going to charge.
And you
Right.
find the
Because
merchandise
that's
that they
what's-
use, we can give our guy at the lake doctor
Correct.
an opportunity to quote on it too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
anecdotal stuff is far less compelling than facts and figures,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know somebody who did something is far less compelling than this is why, this is how much it's going to cost, and this
Right.
is, the best alternative.
Yeah.
Um,
The bottom line.
Right.
Yeah, and again,
well,
Yeah, I mean,
the
my
facts.
mom died
Yeah.
of cancer at 59 years old. I swear it's because she used shower to shower powder every single day of her life. Couldn't prove it.
My dad died of cancer too, and he was a farmer, and
Yeah.
well, just like smoking, how many people smoking kill, and yet our government says it's okay to smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
Now, 10 years down the road, people get cancer from marijuana or brain damage. People are going to say, "Oh, we can't smoke that shit." So
What, you can smoke marijuana and not get cancer?
there you go.
I think maybe we all should smoke a joint right now.
Not me. I never have, never will.
Oh, gosh.
people smoke marijuana to help their cancer, so,
Right.
Yeah.
Like glaucoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people do.
What if you eat it?
It's becoming legal in Florida, recreational.
But I was just
Soon.
saying, they just allow one thing. Charcoal grill. You can't even grill a steak without getting cancer. Could you?
Charcoal.
Not
Charcoal's got,
anymore. Yeah.
charcoal's got.
Well, I remember when they said, butter was bad for you.
Yeah.
And then it was margarine was bad for you.
Then
And
eggs.
now it's bad. So now it's
Eggs.
margarine's bad and butter's
Yeah,
good.
it's reversed.
And then it was spinach too at one point. I
Oh,
was like,
I agree with them on spinach.
Popeye
Now, do you
wouldn't.
eat anything green, Jerry?
And only if I'm
Popeye
forced
say
to.
you're wrong, man.
All right, so you're gonna take the roll on that, and
Yeah.
talk to some landscapers,
We'll
and get
we'll work
some,
on it some
get some
more.
actual. Perfect. Your next meeting, do you want to set that up?
Yeah, Tim won't be here, so
Stuff
let's
over
go
here.
ahead and set the next one up since we
So
got
Tim,
this.
Tim won't be here. Let's go ahead and set that up.
Well, I mean, that is weird. Should have sounded that.
When's Tim not here?
Yeah. He's leaving that Tuesday.
I gotta go to Paul.